Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. Like his hero, St. Paul, the venerable Fulton Sheen never shied away from using the technology of the day to spread the gospel. And if he were preaching today, in fact, if Paul was preaching today, they would be using social media and maybe even AI to quote-unquote go viral. We look back at some of his most meme-worthy moments with Jack Figge. And yes, it's hilarious to think about Fulton Sheen as being meme-worthy, and yet we all know that was entirely possible. Jack Figge is a young Catholic journalist pursuing an MBA at Benedictine College, BA in Political Science and Theology, writer for The Pillar. Jack, great to speak with you. How are you?
It's great to be with you, Dr. Peters. Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, very glad to be able to connect with you. I got a kick out of this piece, and I like the way you think. So let's engage that very crucial question. It's very easy for us to look at historical figures of the faith and think, they existed in a better time, a purer time. But if they existed today, they would be using and engaging all the technology at their advantage to spread the gospel.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I was listening to Bishop Barron podcast yesterday where he likened Bishop Sheen to his contemporary. And Bishop Robert Barron, he's all over YouTube, he's all over Instagram, he's on Twitter, or at least his content's out there. And so it would be thinkable that Bishop Sheen would, of course, be on X or be on Instagram, be on all these sites where just kind of digital evangelization takes place today.
Now, let's talk about digital evangelization and consider Archbishop Fulton Sheen. The moment he had an opportunity, and as the technology was burgeoning, he engaged radio and TV. He saw it as the powerful medium that it was, and he was right. So tell us about the sheer impact of that. Yeah.
Bishop Fulton Sheen, or Archbishop Fulton Sheen, he was a master of television and of radio. His clips are still aired sometimes on EWTN. People still, even before kind of it was announced that he was going to be a blessed, people talked about him, and he was a well-known figure within kind of the Catholic media as kind of the first digital evangelist. And I think he just had this charisma about him. He was very knowledgeable about the faith. He didn't dumb down the truth of the Catholic Church. He presented it fully and beautifully, and in a way that really just resonated with people. And he was humorous, right? I think he kind of he made the church human, and he made it real, and he helped people realize that the church and its teachings aren't just this stale thing. It's this very applicable thing for anybody and everybody's life.
I want to ask you, therefore, to take a good look at the sheer size of his audience. I think it's safe to say he was going viral every time he was on the screen.
Yeah, so many households were tuning into Archbishop Fulton's. They tuned into his radio shows. He won an Emmy in 1953 as a bishop of the Catholic Church. That's almost heard of. And all these secular people knew who he was. So he had this wide presence in a way that, and he was this cultural icon in a way that we don't really see that much of today. There's few Catholic figures who are as present in kind of secular culture and have as big of an influence in secular culture as Archbishop Fulton Sheen had back in the 1950s on kind of American culture.
Let's talk, therefore, as you've rightly highlighted, about some of what you think would have been his viral moments if he was engaging social media the way it exists today.
Yeah. I think my favorite one, of course, is his Emmy acceptance speech where he said, I feel it is time I pay tribute to my four writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And we kind of around the time of award season, we always see clips go viral of different speeches or whatnot. And if you saw a Catholic bishop stand up and gave that presentation, that would just dominate kind of the X sphere and the Instagram algorithms for at least a day, hopefully more, but that's the nature of social media. But then he just also had these powerful, beautiful quotes. My favorite was the one about the Eucharist, where he said about the Eucharist is, quote, the greatest love story of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, the greatest love story of all time is contained in a tiny white host, end quote. It just gives you chills when you hear it. And I imagined it in the sort of kind of as overlaid on top of the video or something that would be shared by such as the National Eucharistic Congress. And it's just a powerful quote that summarizes the beauty and truth of the Eucharist in such a tight phrase. So it was he was just a master of media and master of preaching and evangelization in a digital realm.
Let's keep going. You highlight a few other noteworthy moments in his life as well.
Yeah. So I also highlight one of his quotes just kind of about secularism, where he said, we have a series of thinkers in our day that believe in order to uphold the world, one has to destroy the divine. And he kind of contests this part, talking about that, quote, this world spirit has gotten hold of us to such an extent that many do not like the holy. And so he was just kind of really combating that secular momentum in the age, being very direct and being very forthright about the problems with it. And then I also highlight Sheen's Laws of Marriage in a video in which he kind of gives the 3 laws for marriage and had just a lot of powerful reflections on kind of the development of marriage over kind of a couple's lifespans, where he says, quote, rather, love is like a spiral. It is a great ascension, and they discover themselves now pulled more and more together by a great mysterious force that they may discover to be the voice of God, end quote. So he's just got so many gems in all of his sermons online. Easily, if he was living in a TikTok or Instagram age, those could be clipped to make a great compilation. And then lastly, of course, I found a couple photos of just Archbishop Fulton Sheen that would be able to be memed if the kids and teenagers of today got their hands on these photos of Archbishop Sheen.
So in all of this, we know that the way he lived and his public life would have been very, quote-unquote, memeable. Let's therefore step back into the sheer gravitas and magnitude. The problem with meme culture is it takes the serious and the reverent, and it overtly simplifies it. You can never say that about Fulton Sheen's work, though. Even in memes, that substance carries forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the example of Bishop Fulton Sheen for us today, right? His work has substance, his work has depth, and yet he still communicates it in an effective way. I think the temptation of many kind of quote-unquote digital influencers or content creators of today is to just go very surface level in order to try and get those viral moments, in order to try and be hip and edgy, in order to just try and gain eyeballs. And so often this content lacks a lot of depth, and in turn that just leads to poor formation and errors within this content. But Archbishop Sheen provides a great exemplar of what happened, of how to produce true, good, and beautiful content, true, good, and beautiful videos that elevate the mind and elevate the heart to contemplate God through new mediums. And yeah, I think that may be Archbishop Fulton Sheen's greatest gift to our world, this tiny understanding of how to be effective digital evangelists.
Well, Jack, thank you very much. This was a lighthearted conversation, but a very necessary one. My guest has been Jack Figge, a young Catholic journalist. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter.